Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
And now, it is my pleasure to introduce tonight's keynote speaker. Frank McKenna is the Deputy Chair of the TD Bank Financial Group. He first came to public prominence during his tenure as Premier of New Brunswick from 1987 to 1997. He also served as Canada's ambassador to the United States in 2005 and 2006. And some of you may have seen Frank in the news as he spent the weekend in Haiti, coordinating relief efforts on behalf of the charity that he chairs, One by One. In everything he does, Frank McKenna demonstrates a level of commitment that is truly inspiring. As Harvey Soller wrote in his biography of Frank, and I quote, "He has learned to use his political skill and down-to-earth personality to bring attention to the issues that matter to him, whether they are global or local, humanitarian or political." Ladies and gentlemen, your keynote speaker, Frank McKenna.
Well, thank you, Carol, for a very flattering introduction. If I was that well known, I don't know why somebody stopped me a few minutes ago and said, "Didn't you used to be somebody?" And I said, yes, I am still somebody, actually. A lot of elected officials, formerly elected officials, aspiring to office officials, people were mentioned tonight, and I just want to thank you for your service and for your interest in serving. We are certainly better off for it. Now, we've had a lot of speakers, and it's getting late, so I'm going to jump right into it. I must confess at the outset that I'm a little surprised to be chosen as your guest speaker tonight. Firstly, I'm a banker now. A recent poll in the New York Times suggested the only group now held in lower regard than bankers are prostitutes and convicted felons. And I don't know why prostitutes are on the list, actually. Secondly, it's not every day that a farm boy from New Brunswick gets to speak to 1,500 mucky mucks. That's what we call important people back in New Brunswick. At the Board of Trade of Toronto, Toronto is what we call Toronto back in the Maritimes. Here in Upper Canada is Toronto back in the Maritimes. Trust me, they're all terms of affection. Speaking of that, I want to give you my heartfelt thanks, not just for asking me to speak tonight, but for your warm and uncompromising welcome to me over 40 years as a student coming here looking for employment, as a premier looking for jobs. They used to even give me an OPP card that I could go around from place to place to try to take jobs out of Ontario. I mean, I thought it was pretty good. As a lawyer, practicing here, corporate director, and now a full-time employee at TD. This is a city with a big and generous heart. So if there's any value that I can bring tonight, it's giving you the perspective of an outsider with a different set of eyes, talking about a city that I've come to love and respect. If I may say so, it's also a city that is taken for granted by those of us who live here. This city needs to get its swagger back. This city needs to see itself as others see it. And that is part of my objective tonight. So here's a look in the mirror at the Toronto that I see. Let's start with the quality of life of this city. This has been rated the most civil and civilized city in the world by National Geographic. Number 2 in North America for quality of life, says Mercer Consulting. Number 1 for quality of life, says FDI. Best international city for work and family, says Fortune magazine. And it's generous too. At a time of unprecedented economic stress, $109 million was raised this year by United Way in this community, the biggest single fundraising effort of any city all across North America. And this may come as a bit of a shock to you. Toronto has one of the lowest crime rates of any comparable city of its size. In fact, it may interest you to know that Reader's Digest surveyed 32 countries in the world with their famous wallet test. They leave wallets in public places to see which ones would be stolen and which ones would be returned. Toronto was a close second to some city in Slovenia of 267,000 people, amongst 32 in the world, as the most honest city in the world. Now, how's that for impressive? A major contribution to the quality of life of Toronto is its diversity. Over 180 languages and dialects are spoken. In fact, half of Toronto residents, as was pointed out earlier, were born outside of Canada. It's the #1 city in North America for diversity. On the food side, my favorite area, Toronto is a cornucopia of temptation. There are over 10,000 restaurants in Toronto, many of them serving delicious ethnic food. And on the creative side, Toronto is a cultural mecca. 1,000 festivals a year, 125 museums, 50 ballet and dance companies, 6 opera companies, 2 symphony orchestras, and it's Toronto's Hollywood North. It's the 3rd largest center for film and TV in the entire world. 25% of Hollywood films are done here. Toronto is the 3rd largest English language live theater market in the entire world. Governments, businesses, and private citizens have recently invested over $1 billion creating world-class cultural centers. The Art Gallery of Ontario, one of North America's largest art museums with 73,000 works of art. The Royal Ontario Museum, one of North America's largest museums with 60,000 pieces, and named as one of the 7 new wonders of the architectural world by an architectural magazine, and attracting 1 million people a year. Four Seasons Centre for the Performing Arts is one of North America's largest purpose-built opera houses with over 2,000 seats, and Canada's National Ballet School is at the forefront of dance training globally. A $100 million campaign recently was finished. It's moved into its impressive facilities on Jarvis Street. It's now called the Jewel on Jarvis, or as one commentator put it, a beacon on Toronto's architectural scene. And that's just the bricks and mortar that we see in Toronto. Now let's look for a moment at the events. Caravana Festival, North America's largest festival celebrating Caribbean culture, with over 1 million people a year attending. Pride Week, the Gay Pride Festival, culminating with the Pride Parade with attendance of over 1 million per year. Luminato, Toronto Festival of Arts and Creativity, attendance over 1 million a year. Nuit Blanche, an all-night celebration of contemporary art. Toronto Jazz Festival, over 500,000 people attending. Beaches International Jazz Festival with over 900,000. Toronto International Film Festival, one of the top film festivals in the entire world, screening of some 300 to 400 films.